Sweet, sweet Jamaica. Have you ever considered migrating to the mystical island of Jamaica? Join me, Michelle Moore, and special guests as we explore the world of Jamaica with those at home in Jamaica and those away in the diaspora, right here on the Home and Away Show. Dr Cecily Jones, welcome to Home and Away Jamaica.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
So as you can hear, yes, I'm bunged up. I'm taking all the natural remedies though. Mm-hmm. Honey, lemon, ginger, white rum. Mm-hmm. And just trying to dose up. So you're in a good place. I wish I was where you are now.
I wish you were here too as well. But being in Jamaica is no guarantee against the flu. That said, I think I would far rather have the flu in Jamaica than be at home in London right now.
So where are you? Home or away? Because you mentioned home in London right now. So you're still in transition mode, or is London still your home in your heart?
It takes a very, very long time to decide where you are. Yeah, I've lived in London for so many years that London will always be it would always be a home to me. It's not my spiritual home, but it's a place where I grew up. It's a place I got married. It's a place, it was my home for many years. But I think of my home as my spiritual home as the Caribbean. Well, right now I'm in Kingston. I'm not actually from Jamaica, but this is where I'm going to be living for the next few years, maybe for the rest of my life. And I'm in Kingston. I'm living in Mona. I'm working at the University of the West Indies, and so I'm living on the staff faculty housing complex, which is a place called College Common. It's nestled in a valley at the foot of some mountains, and it's a very, very beautiful place. It feels really good to be here. Really does.
It sounds beautiful in the valley.
It is.
The hills.
Yes, it is. I can't believe it. Every morning I get up, and yes, it's cold, but I look out and there are mountains all around me. Some of it is probably unexplored, or at least very, very rarely explored. It is just so beautiful. It is very green. It's very lush, beautiful plant life. But that said, I'm here at a very good time because a few months ago, it was all very, very, very dry. We had a drought here. There'd been a drought here. In fact, there'd been a drought throughout most of the Caribbean region for most of the year.
Yeah.
And the rain has only really been falling in the last few weeks. When I arrived here, a lot of local people were really, really happy. And said to me, "You brought the rain with you." Thank you. You brought the rain with you. Thank you. But, it's amazing. A few days of rain and suddenly everything is lush and green and just bountiful. It is absolutely wonderful. It's amazing how quickly a few days of good rain. Sometimes when it rains, at this point in time, it's still a bit of a novelty. And children come out and they're playing in the rain. There were people out taking pictures of the rain.
Wow, it's been that long.
It's very, very different. Well, it's a very different quality of rain as well from London, especially at this time of year where the rain is so miserable. Mm-hmm. That very cold, fine rain. Here it rains, it's heavy, and then it's a heavy downpour, and then it stops, and then within hours, again, very, very different.
The sun comes up and shines everything up, and then, the cycle continues.
Yes, but it's not just the plant life, it's also getting used to so much new animal life and bird life. Thankfully, I've lived in other parts of the Caribbean before, so I'm used to those big cockroaches.
I don't think I'll ever get used to them.
I am. Well, I just make sure that I have a can of Raid or a can of whatever it is, anywhere, anything nearby. But unfortunately, I haven't seen too many. But I'm interested in the bird life. I have never seen such a variety of birds. As I said, about 10 minutes ago, I was sitting here watching this bird.
Is it the one we can hear in the background? Because he seems to be lingering or singing to us ever since we started to speak. It's like he's saying something. It's so clear.
Oh, this is the morning chorus. Because one thing about Jamaica Caribbean is that if you listen, it's never ever quiet. The background is never quiet, either at night or during the
Mm.
day. And where I am, I mean, there is just so much bird life, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know the different birds. I like knowing where I am. I like knowing what's about me.
Mm.
But the birds around here, the one I was looking at, has like long, long black feathers, but with a really, really striking red head.
Wow.
So I'm going to go and look it
Look
up
him up.
later on.
Yeah.
But every morning, yes, the birds, they're doing their thing. They're singing their songs and welcoming the new day. It's pretty amazing.
Beautiful. Sounds like you're in an amazing place. So, how is this contrast between what you've left in the UK? So you were a teacher, a university teacher in the UK.
Yes, I was. For a good few years, I worked at a university in the West
Mhm.
Midlands. And I had been out of work for a little while. I became very unwell. And as I started to recover, I decided that I wanted to go back to work because there was a time when I thought, the pressures of higher education in the UK are immense, they're enormous, and they will break you down if you're not careful. So anyway, I became unwell, and then I was off work for a few years, and then I decided I wanted to get back into it because I really, really missed it. And fortunately, I happened to see a job advertised out here in Jamaica, and I applied for it. And months later, here I am. And I wake up sometimes in the morning. I still can't believe I'm here in Jamaica. This should really be my dream job.
Wow.
Teaching Caribbean students, and
Hmm.
that's the other thing. It's just so amazing. It's just so extraordinary to be on a university campus, and the majority of people there look like me.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. The students look like me.
Hmm.
My colleagues look like me.
How does that make you feel?
Uh, but when I was teaching in universities in
Mm.
London and elsewhere in the UK, I was always visible. You know,
Hmm.
there were times when weeks would go by and I might not see another woman, another African Caribbean woman,
Hmm.
until I went home to London. And now here, it's just for me. It's just so amazing. I feel when I'm walking around, seeing because as I said, you don't see many in the UK. You don't see that many black students unless you're somewhere like London,
Hmm.
and you certainly do not see many black academics. Yes, but to walk onto a campus and every lecturer, every professor, nearly every professor, every lecturer, 95% perhaps looks like you.
Right.
And you think, wow, it's just so different. I mean, right now it feels comfortable. There are issues about the fact that, I'm Black British. And even if I was Jamaican born, those issues about
Hmm.
identity would still be there. Yes. But for the most part, I go along, and unless I open my mouth, nobody knows. Nobody knows that I'm in any way different. But you don't have to. What I find here is that you don't have to explain yourself as an academic, as a Black British academic. You're constantly having to explain yourself, who you are, define yourself, justify yourself. You're used to being one of very few.
Right.
It's a very, very lonely existence. It can be a very lonely existence. I worked in one of the largest sociology departments in the UK. And for years, I was the only African Caribbean person there. In fact, I was, when I joined the university, I was the only African Caribbean woman working at the university. So I should say, as an academic, there are plenty of African Caribbean cleaners, you know,
Right.
but in terms of faculty,
Hmm.
I was the only one. And when I left 10, 12 years later, I think I was still the only one, you know.
Hmm.
So the contrast is huge. To see black women academics, for people here, it is still, it's still the norm. You know, I was speaking with a friend of mine in London the other day, and she was saying she'd gone to a conference, and it was mainly black people, and she said it was just, it was mainly black women, but that was such an extraordinary event. But here, no, it feels good, but it also says to remind me in the UK, you come through a system, and the absence of black people kind of serves to reinforce beliefs about the lack of intelligence of black people. That in fact, the reason why we're not in education is because we're not intelligent, blah 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 blah. And then you come here. Yes, or you go to the university, the sister campus in Barbados or in St. Augustine, and all you see is people who look like you, who are doing amazing things, who are doing brilliant things, who are doing, all these completely amazing things. And then you think about home, and the contrast is just so different. I wish that it was a dream of mine a long time ago to study here, but because of economics, finance, I couldn't. So, just the fact that I'm actually here working here, it really should be my dream job.
Well, it sounds like your dream job. You've made your dream come true, and you've decided to make a huge change and embark on a massive challenge as well. And like you said, you're not Jamaican born.
That's right.
You're born in Barbados. So naturally, you didn't have that heritage or that calling, as it were, to reunite with your roots or anything. It was just something that you followed. It was a passion in teaching in higher education.
Yeah, let me just go back a bit. I was brought up in Barbados in Brixton. Yes, I was brought up in Brixton in the late 70s, early 80s, and anyone who knows Brixton, the history of Brixton at that time, will tell you that the majority black population at that time in Brixton were Jamaican. The patterns of dispersal, so generally Bajans went one way, Dominicans went another way. The majority of people that I grew up with and around in Brixton were Jamaican. So I grew up almost thinking of myself as Jamaican. Yes. All my friends were Jamaican, and all my friends are Jamaican. And when I went to work, my friends were Jamaican. My children's father does work Jamaican. That was all I knew in terms of black culture. That's what I knew. I grew up in Jamaican culture, and I probably know more about I knew more about Jamaican culture than I did about Barbadian culture. I visited Jamaica long before I ever visited Barbados. As I said, my friends were going home to Jamaica, and I wanted to go. I wanted to see. And, in Barbados, there's a parish called St. Thomas. And people would say to me, where are you from? And I'd say St. Thomas. And they would assume that I was from St. Thomas in Jamaica. And so they just took me as one of them. And but that's the culture I grew up in. I grew up in the reggae, lovers rock culture. I knew more about reggae, lovers rock than I knew about soca. I hope there aren't many Bajans listening to this. But that's what I grew up in, and I used to come here regularly. In my late teens, early 20s, I came here. Just after a lot of the political turmoil had died down. So in a way, in many ways, I knew Jamaica far better than I knew my own culture, and I had to make a conscious effort to go to Barbados and learn about Barbados. There's part of me that just thinks, and it might be very naive, but I mean, to me, the Caribbean is home, and yes, the islands are very, very different. But no matter where I am in the Caribbean, I feel a sense of home.
Right.
And they are very different. But there is that common heritage, and so I hardly ever feel unwelcomed. I hardly ever feel excluded. I hardly ever made to feel like an alien or anything. So, what I'm trying to say is that Jamaica itself isn't new to me. I haven't been here for a while. Right. And I can't say I know it very, very well either, because when I used to come here, to be honest, I used to go and do the hedonism thing, hang out down the grill, that kind of thing.
No, I don't know that kind of thing. Tell me about that kind of thing.
That was a long time ago.
I've heard a lot about it.
No, no, to be honest, when I used to come here, I came here and I used to bring my daughter with me. So a lot of kind of stuff that goes on down there, most of it I just was not or could not have, well, really would not have had any to get involved in some of the more extreme stuff. And actually, when I came here as a sort of late teen, early 20s, there's a kind of circularity in life, I think, because I started off my academic career at this university. I never went to university here, but I came here. I met some friends. I was actually staying here on College Common, not too far from where I'm living now.
Mhm.
And I was staying with some friends they were Jamaicans, and they were studying, and they were kind of like appalled that I was not a student in London, that I had not been to university myself. And I was trying to explain, this is back in the late 70s, early 80s, and I was trying to explain how racism shaped educational outcomes and so on and so forth, and how it was very, very unusual for black people in the UK to go to university. And it was in the late 70s, it was very, very rare. But because, I mean, people here have to contend with kind of class issues and sometimes colorism issues, but not race issues. And so it's very difficult for a lot of people to understand how race limits your opportunities. But they would say to me, "Why didn't you not go to?" Because I'm living in London as well, and people think that you live in London, you live in the UK, you have all these opportunities at your feet. And they were just like, "Well, why didn't you not go to university?" You know. And so it was those people who convinced me that no matter how, that they convinced me that I should go to university, because some of these people, they were very, very, very poor. Yes. But yet they found the resources to go to university. And so when I went back to the UK, and I thought, okay, if people who are very, very poor, if they can make it to university, right, in Jamaica, then I can make it. And yes, it was difficult. I was already a single parent. I was living on this council estate in Brixton. And as far as I was concerned, I didn't really have that many opportunities. I've been brought up in children's homes and so on and so forth. And all of that kind of militated against me,
Right.
But, so I said, I have these people who I met here at UWE so many years ago, who encouraged me. There I was living in London, and they were encouraging me to go to university. And I did. And I did, much to my surprise, I did. As I said, I was much older. I was what they called a mature student in those days. Was a single parent. I was living on this council estate in Brixton. And this is how I went to university. It was because of people I met here at this very university, just a few yards away from where I'm sitting today. And that's what got me to university,
Right.
Um, so as I said, life can sometimes be very, very circular, because here I am, living and working on this campus, that I never ever, that I never ever thought that I would. I've never even had any expectations that I would ever be back here teaching here, the very place where I was. I was, set on my journey, set on my academic journey. So, yes, strange to me.
Yeah, it's an amazing path, and especially the whole Jamaican influence. Like you said, brought up around Jamaican people, people that you went to work with, people that you grew up with, your friends. Everyone was Jamaican,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, it was almost like you needed to be absorbed in that Jamaican culture, because this is where your journey would ultimately end up. So yeah, you're
I,
Jamaicanized.
I don't know if people call me Jamaicanite. I'm African. I'm African heritage. I'm Caribbean heritage. I'm here.
Mhm.
I don't know what the future holds for me. Yeah. So far it has been. Um, so far I haven't met nothing but goodness from people. You know.
Mhm.
The occasional thing, but then that's life. You go through life, and you're always going to meet people who, for whatever reason. But so far, honestly, the only bad experience I've had so far, I went to I had to go to the wharf yesterday to collect a single barrel, what we call our Christmas barrel. It's full of all that stuff
Oh,
that I'd packed, full of all the sort of kind of Christmas stuff.
all your goodies. Yeah, creature comforts.
Yes, yes, yes. And I had to go and collect that, and that was a really long thing. That was just terrible. It was like the worst experience I've had. It was long in both senses of the term. I was there all day. I thought I'd be there for an hour, and that would be it. But that got me thinking a lot about the politics of poverty, because on the whole, um, how so many people here are sustained by remittances, both in terms of money, but also in terms of food and clothing and so on. So going to the wharf, I don't know
Right.
if you've done that while you were here.
And no, I haven't. I haven't to date. I haven't been to the wharf to collect anything
It's
yet.
an interesting experience.
No, I haven't shipped
It's a
anything.
real interesting experience because it teaches you a lot about the politics of poverty, because you go there and you spend your whole day just waiting. And for me, there was just so many things going on. As I went to get my barrel, and you have to unpack the barrel so the customs office can check. And there's a woman next to me, and she had unpacked her barrel. And the funny thing is that,
Hmm.
what she had, it was food from Tesco. I recognized it all, Tesco and Sainsbury's. And I kind of like went and I thought, oh, must be mine. But it tells me a lot about the kind of relationship, the kind of remittance, the role of remittance, and remittance, as I said, in every sense, in sustaining livelihoods here. But I think what the point was that,
Hmm.
it was like the queues are everywhere, and this is what poor people have to do. You have to queue. If you're rich, you can get a customs broker, and they will go and stand in queue for you for hours
Hmm.
and hours and hours and hours. And I mean, at this time of year as well, um, people who received it are really, really dependent um, on the barrels,
Hmm.
on the food and the clothing and the other things that they sent down to them. And I've always appreciated these kind of exchanges, but it got me thinking a lot about the kind of politics of poverty and the gendering of poverty as well, because again, it was mainly women who were there collecting these barrels. I'm not really kind of articulating it very well, but it has got me thinking about maybe particular kinds of experiences that you have to go through when you're poor. You know, but it
Hmm.
also pointed out to me how strong those kind of diasporic relations are. Yes, and so people who left here maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago might not ever have been back here, but still they're supporting their family,
Hmm.
supporting their friends, sending down barrels of food of this and that. And it just got me thinking about just how strong how strong those diasporic relationships are.
And like you said, especially this time of year. And I think when you're getting into the nitty gritty and you have to immerse yourself in the culture and the day to day life, you get to see more of that. Even
Yes.
when you're just going shopping or going about to the government offices, you see a lot of
Yeah.
poverty. But you also see, the struggles that people have to go through on a daily basis. And because it's just in your face as well, you do have to stop and think and be
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah, I mean, some people. I mean, I'm quite. Some people, I have to say, some people can avoid seeing all of that. Sometimes you go through an area and you would not believe that this is Kingston. Yes, and then you go somewhere like halfway through, and it's the levels of poverty. It's just so visible, as you say. It's on the street. It's just there in your
Hmm.
face. I mean, you see poverty in just about any major city. You walk through London and you will see people sleeping out. But I haven't really been here long enough to really get a handle on it. But it does feel more, yes, it does feel more extreme, um, because of the absence of particular resources and infrastructure. Yes, in London
Hmm.
at least London and major cities, at least you know that there are shelters for the homeless and so on and so forth. Um, and they're reasonably, despite the best attempts of the British government, a lot of these places are reasonably well resourced. They need money. They depend on donations and so on and so forth. But and there is a certain infrastructure, and I'm trying to figure out just how. just how strong that infrastructure is here, I don't think it is the same. It's the same here at all. And I see levels of poverty in the way in which people live. Um, people will go into a shop, for instance, and they might buy 1 or 2 eggs. Um, but something, Michelle. What I've come to realise is that Jamaica is a very, very poor country. It really is very, very poor. I knew this, but it is also a very, very rich country in different ways. They're in different ways.
It's the
Yeah,
contrast is phenomenal. It is, and
yeah,
it's right in front of your face, but both extremes
yeah, yeah,
exist at the same time.
yeah.
So close together. And just like you said, you'll be one part of Kingston and it looks like Buckingham Palace or
Yeah,
Los Angeles, and then you drive 5 minutes down the road and you see shanty towns and people on the streets, and you can't
absolutely. And
understand.
yes, and people will say to you, people always say to me, don't go down the, don't go down there. I went to get my, you have to have this TRN card.
Right.
You have to have it for whatever you do. And it's a tax registration card. Every Jamaican, you need it. You can't exist without it. So I went to get my TRN card, and I just happened to go to the office that was nearest to the Ministry of Labour because I happened to be at the Ministry of Labour that day. And I was talking to somebody later on saying to me, I've been in this office, and that person was like, "What was I doing down there? I had no business being down there. I shouldn't even go to these places." Listen, you can see poverty if you choose to, or you can choose
Yeah.
not to see it. Yes, you can figure out your routes to and from work so you don't see it. Invariably, you might encounter it. You might encounter the squeegee merchant, but it's possible to live here and not see that much poverty. Yes, in terms of where you
Yeah.
shop, where you live, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
It's like two different worlds. When I said when I said people are very rich, I meant it in different ways. In terms of wealth, you know, there is a small majority of people who are very, very wealthy, and I look at sometimes I'm going by and I look at some of the houses and I think, oh my gosh, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, oh my gosh. I had no idea that people live like this. That, these houses, huge, big mansions,
Hmm.
and so on in Kingston. The mountain above where I'm living. I'm looking at it and I'm seeing building works going on, and I'm not talking about shanties. I'm talking about big mansions. So there is a lot of that. The thing is that there's a small as ever in the Caribbean, in most developing countries, there is a small group of people who
Hmm.
are making the money, and there's a much larger group of people without it. But when I said rich, I also meant culturally as well. Not just culturally, but also in terms of the environment. Yes. Um, as we said, it's a very beautiful environment. It's a very rich environment in that sense. Yes, it has a very rich culture, and so there's a poverty, but there's also this kind of richness of um, there's a kind of richness of just of the place as it is. The poverty, yes, you see it and you think, wow, but then, people, in terms of people's spirits and so on and so forth, in terms of the way in which people live, in which way in which people relate to each other, in which
Hmm.
people give to each other, that's what I meant by richness as well,
No.
not just in terms of material, yes.
And I mean, it's still early days. It's still early days for you, isn't it? Because you've only been there, what, about a month now?
Yes,
Mm.
Monday kind of months, yeah.
Wow.
But as I say, every day is a new experience. It really is. Sometimes not so good, but every day is a new experience. It's a new learning
Hmm.
curve. And so far, yes, you can, I mean, I am so happy not to be in London because I really don't do cold at all. I really do not like cold weather. I hate cold weather. And, my family, everyone's telling me how cold it is and so on and so forth.
Yes, it is. It
Um,
is.
that's what it is. And I'm so happy. I mean, the sun is up now. The other thing is that I find it very, very hard to feel the Christmas vibe. Now, I know a lot of people don't do Christmas and they might do Kwanzaa or whatever.
Yes.
But I find it really hard because I still cannot get used
A
to.
warm
Um,
Christmas.
it is not just warm, but I was in Barbados for Christmas once a few years ago,
Hmm.
and it was just surreal because you're in the store, and this is the same here. You're in the store, and you're hearing these Christmas carols, jingle bells, and you're hearing "Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow," and you go outside, and you go outside, and you go outside, and it is hot. It is hot, and you're thinking, why are they celebrating Christmas in the middle of summer? And you see all the Christmas decorations. I was in a shop the other day. They're selling fake snow. Okay, all right. Okay, I'm not going down that road. I'm not going down that road. Uh, it's very different. I'm. I tell you what, I am really, really dreading. I mean, in the Caribbean, people, we love our food,
Oh,
and
yeah.
what I'm discovering, what Jamaicans tell me is that Jamaicans love food more than any other Caribbean people. So at the moment, adverts for your Christmas turkey, your Christmas ham, your Christmas this and that,
Right.
and all I can think, Michelle, is how am I going to cook my Christmas dinner in this hot kitchen, in these hot temperatures?
Listen, don't complain.
I am dreading it. I am
Oh
dreading
my
it.
God.
I understand now why Australians go to the beach on Christmas Day and do the barbecues.
Yes.
So it's all very different. When my family finally arrive on Monday, I might get into it. But for now, it's just too surreal because it's just so hot. And then going to shops and that's the other thing that the kind of the colonial linkages are still there. Like you go into the stores and you look for Christmas cards and you expect you might find some Christmas or kind of Kwanzaa cards with
Hmm.
black faces, and I'm still looking. I haven't seen any. This is what I mean. It's that you kind of in many ways you go back to Bob Marley and the his line about emancipating yourself from mental slavery.
Hmm.
And I'm looking at all these Christmas cards and, the kind of iconography of Christmas. So Santa Claus is still white, and you look at Christmas cards, and everybody on Christmas cards are white, and the scenes are very much reminiscent of what you would expect to get in, I don't know, in England
Yeah.
or Canada.
Hmm.
But they also hark back to very often you'll find like Victorian scenes of Christmas,
Hmm.
and it has no relation to the reality here whatsoever. And I was just thinking, well, one, I should have bought my cards in London before I came.
Hmm.
But it just speaks to me very much of how, in some ways, there's such a long way to go. There's still a long way to go still.
I mean, what kind of difference do you think that would make in terms of, that symbolic meaning of images? For example, Father Christmas and the representation being somebody that looks or represents the culture or the people living in that country. Those kind of images, what do you think that will actually do, and how do you think that will make a difference on the whole to the society or to the culture?
Just think about it this way, right? Imagine you got up tomorrow morning and you went down Sainsbury's, right? Or
Mm.
wherever you shop, and you walked in there and all the images you saw around you were black faces.
Hmm.
Yes? So the Father Christmas, the elves and that were black. On in the cars and everything, all the kind of iconography, that was all black. You walked around the street, it was all black. Yes?
Hmm.
What do you think how do you think people will receive that? I think, because we are still, people talk about post-racial society. I don't believe that we're in a post-racial society. People talk about post-colonial societies. I have real issues about that.
Hmm.
I think imagery, identity, it is important. In the Caribbean and in much of the developing world, we're still very much affected by ideas about blackness and negative, like kind of negative ideas around blackness and so on and
Hmm.
so forth. Yes, um, people are still struggling to have Black history integrated into the curriculum, and this is not just in the UK. This is also here, like the Caribbean as well. Yes.
Hmm. Right.
And I think it's really, really important that that we have images that children growing up seeing images of people who look like them.
Yeah.
Yes, people who they can identify with. Yes, I remember getting a somebody bought me a black doll when I was a child, and I did not want this black doll. You know, I wanted a
Mhm.
Barbie. In fact, I didn't even want a Barbie, but I wanted a particular. There was a doll called Tressie. A doll called Tressie, and the thing about this doll called Tressie is that you press something, and like she had blonde hair, and you press this button, and her hair would grow. Yes, and for
Mhm.
me, that was just I didn't want no black doll. Yes, I didn't want this black doll because to me it was ugly and so on and so forth. I think there is this kind of disjuncture between if you live in a society where so many images around you are not representative of the
Mhm.
dominant majority. Yes, and I think it is symbolic. I'm not saying that you know. I think in some ways that this is a very diverse society, as you know. Yes,
Right.
but as I said, a lot of the images, right, do not reflect that diversity
Mhm.
of society.
I think that's really important. The culture, the diversity, the different colors, people from different backgrounds, that representation needs to be there. Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, in the UK and London, we take it for granted now. I mean, I think there's still a long, long, long way to go. But, we take it for
Hmm.
granted almost when we see black people on the television or see black radio programs like this, and things like that. But I
Hmm.
grew up in London at a time when if you saw a black person on television, you would run and get your friend and come and say, look, 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 there's a black person on television. Yes?
Yeah.
We took it for granted. And we
Hmm.
take it for granted now. And there's still a long way to go before we get a kind of representative representation. But here as well, in the Caribbean as well, you turn on the television and watch it. What are the dominant representations that you see? What are the dominant images? Um,
Hmm.
Especially where so much television comes from America, outside the region.
Yes.
Yes. So, and that is sending all kinds of messages about what people can aspire to or should aspire to. And sometimes it's completely unrealistic. Yes. And that in itself creates all kinds of problems. Yeah. If you're
Hmm.
watching television and if you turn on the television and you're just watching, um, and the majority of the television that you're receiving is coming from outside, and people living lives that are just so unlike anything that you experience. That sets up all
Hmm.
kinds of chain reactions and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that, but I do think that if you're going to have a media, then the media it has a responsibility to be representative of because
Sure.
I am a media consumer, yes? And so if I am
Hmm.
consuming your products, then you need to be ensuring that your products are going to be representative of the community. I'm not just talking about black people, but I mean, I want to see that it reflects it reflects the population for whom it serves.
I hear you loud and clear. It's one of those big taboos
Yeah,
which is ongoing, and we just have to see how it develops.
yeah,
So you are in sunny, warm Jamaica,
I
in
am.
the nice, cool mountains. The sun's come up to shine, and oh, I'm not sure where the birds disappeared to. He was singing away. He's gone. He's gone away somewhere. So have you started your post? Have you started your new role?
I have not quite fully. I arrived here during the exam period, so there's actually very little to do. But I'm kind of preparing. I'm preparing now to start in the new semester, which starts mid-January. And so at the moment, I've been trying to deal with kind of domestic stuff, get settled in
Yeah.
into our house and just kind of like putting down, getting into the kind of regimes and routines that I need to do. You have to start finding out your contacts. Who is this? Where is the gym or where's the best walking, running route? And just kind of putting down your roots in a way.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of that, but also beginning to sort of do preparation for the next term itself. But I look forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything in particular that you look most looking forward to doing this in Jamaica?
Yeah, the thing, I mean, I love working with my students. I love working with students, and the students here had many, many more challenges than in the UK. I appreciate the fact that many students in the UK have to work to hold down jobs, but here it's a bit more serious than that. Tuition fees have been recently introduced in some parts, but for many students, getting through is a real struggle. So students sometimes have to take time out because they just cannot afford to pay the fees and so on and so forth, and it can be much harder. And what I always look forward to, is seeing students succeed, especially at graduation. Students come to you in the first year and they're very kind of unsure of themselves and unsure of their abilities. And then 3 years later they leave, and the confidence they've developed, the skills they've gained, that's what I that's the part of my job that I really, really love. Yes, and that's what I'm looking forward to, right. To being a part and parcel of people's educational attainment and success. That's, like I said, that's the part that I'm really looking forward to. Looking forward to working, meeting new colleagues as well. And it's really interesting for me being here because, a lot of my work has been historical, and so I've known of a lot of the Caribbean historians, and so I'm really looking forward to being able to work with some of these people who, I've been familiar with their work for years. I've seen their work around for years, and I'm really looking forward and really to working with some of these. Well, for me, what are really, really kind of great names in Caribbean history. I've met some really good people, and I'm just going to be open to whatever experiences, whatever challenges it throws at me.
And I mean, making a move like that and taking yourself to a developing country and almost, you're giving something back. There's a lot to learn from the people that you're working with and around as well.
Yeah, you have to get used to new ways of thinking, you have to kind of reshape your expectations. Yes. I mean, I had been here before, and I have friends here as well. So I was on one level prepared, but it's when you get here and the reality. So, for instance, essential resource. What for me would be essential resources are not readily available. If I want to buy a book, I can walk into a bookshop at home, or I can go on Amazon and buy it, and it's cheap. The kind of resources
delivered to your door.
Yes, delivered to my door, and I can go on Amazon or whatever, and I can click this, buy that, and it's there the next day. But resources are not so readily available here; they're expensive, and so on and so forth. So I guess you're going to have to. There's an element of creativity. Well, I can see that you're going to have to be very creative in terms of the resources. The reality is that it is a developing society. I personally find that I am having to limit my expectations. Not to limit my expectations. I guess partly it's because I kind of feel that, so much of what people seem to feel that they want in life, I kind of feel that I've come out I'm at a part of my life now where I don't need to have this, I don't need to have that, I don't need to have this.
Right.
And if I did need to have it, then I think I'd be very, very disappointed. Yes?
Yeah.
So, 10, 20 years ago, maybe I was thinking, well, I gotta have this, I gotta have that, I gotta have that, But partly I have to be honest and say to myself, well, part of my not needing to have it is also kind of tied up knowing that if I wanted to have it, I probably could have it. I could, family in London, please send me this, blah, 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 blah. Yes? But I personally don't really need the things that I thought I knew that I needed 10 years ago. And there's a kind of arrogance in that because, a lot of people around are really hurting and in need of things. Yes. And I'm also very much aware that actually, yes, I can say what I don't need. And that's a very, very privileged position to be in, to be able to say I don't need. I don't have to think about where my next meal is coming from, you know? I don't have to think about, well, if I need something, I don't, well, you know, if I need something, I can generally go down the road and get it. If I can't get it here, you know, so that's very, very privileged. I think that's a very, 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 very privileged position to be in. But I think that if I was in the same space I was 10 years ago, I think I'd find it very, very difficult. But on the other hand, I have to acknowledge also that my position, you know, in terms of employment, my occupation, that gives me a particular kind of status that that I benefit from. Yes, and I acknowledge it in London, but to some extent, it's even more attenuated. It's even more accentuated here.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who is thinking about migrating to the Caribbean and maybe sort of stuck in the rut, quite comfortable, but they still have this pulling passion to kind of flee, and based on the same desires that you have to live a better quality of life, to wake up to that sunshine, to give something back? What would be your words of wisdom to them?
I think what I found was, one, to be realistic. Just to be realistic, to keep your expectations in check. Yes, be realistic about the society for which you're coming into. It's easy to sit in London and think, God, I want to go back and live there. Yes, a friend of mine, she came back 10 months ago, and she was saying that she is still finding it. It's like we were both saying that every day is a new experience, every day is a new learning curve. Yes, and she is Jamaican. Yes, and she is loving it, but still finding new challenges. So you have to be realistic. It is not going to be it's not all going to be irie. It is not. Yes. So you have to do as much research as possible about the place you're coming from. A lot of us, when we come back to the Caribbean, we might come here, we might spend a month here, 6 weeks here, but we're not living here. Yes, and it's a real difference between actually having to live here and coming here for 4 weeks holiday, 6 weeks holiday. It's a very real difference. Yes, so you have to be very, very. You need to, I did something which I wouldn't recommend to nobody. I would recommend that you actually came and spend long periods of time, a few months, rather than just coming in here.
Like to test it out beforehand.
To test it out, yes. To test it out, so that you're quite clear as well about whether or not it's really for you. And this isn't just about Jamaica. It's about anywhere. It's about anywhere that you went. That you decide you want to go and live. I mean, this is why I went to Barbados and I spent some time living there, because that's what I was thinking. I want to go spend some time and see if I can live here. Some people will come here and they can. I'm pretty sure that some people can just immerse themselves back into it like if they'd never left. Yeah, but there are all kinds of things that you're going to come across that you're not prepared for. So you have to do as much research as possible. Yeah, find out, best places to live. Find out if you're coming to work, what the job opportunities are. You need to sort out things like what your work status is. There's a lot of bureaucratic processes that you have to do as well, and make sure you know what those are and how to go about doing them, because that can be frustrating. But just do as much research as possible beforehand. You're never going to be covered for every eventuality. No. Yes, but you need to be as aware of the kind of situations that you're entering into, the kind of possibilities, and so on and so forth. You cannot approach this or move into anywhere else wearing rose-colored glasses. Yes, nowhere is a utopia. and there are always going to be problems. The thing is, if you're prepared for those problems, if you expect them, then you're prepared for them and you're better able to deal with them when they come along. Yes? If you're not prepared for them, you can be knocked off your feet.
Right.
You can't be fully prepared, but, the better prepared you are, the better you're able to withstand anything that comes along.
Fantastic. Well, you sound prepared enough, having come this
I hope
far.
so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, there's still days when, as I said, every day is a new learning curve. I learn something new every day, and I have to because there is so little that I don't know. And after a month, I look back and I think, oh, what do I know? Well, I know the route from here to town. I know which shop to shop in. I know which one is, and I can go back my way. And feel okay about it. I know how to get by, how to get through, and each day I'm learning more and more. So I won't say I'm 100% prepared, but
I don't think we can ever be, like you said, but prepared enough. So what's for Christmas dinner?
Well, I really don't know, but the more I think about it, the more I think it's not me going to be cooking it. Seriously. Seriously, I don't know. I really don't know. I was in the store the other day and I see turkeys, and the price of the turkeys made my eyes, what? Really? But rice and peas there certainly will be. Trying to think what else I'm going to have.
Roast breadfruit, lobster.
Yes, just about everything. Yes. More or less, I'm going to go and do the big shop in a couple of days' time. I'm going to say I have to, because I'm getting ready to cook the cake. It's late this year because the fruit mix was in transit. But the other night, so I've got my Christmas cake, my black cake ready. I've simmered down the fruit, and I'm going to be cooking that today. They're baking that today.
All set. Sounds like you're all set.
Yeah, I hope so.
Any mince pies there? That's one thing I really missed, mince pies.
When I was several years ago, I lived in Barbados for about a year. I was doing my PhD and I was doing some research over there. I was there, and I was there for Christmas. And I would meet all these expats, and they would be going on about, "Can you please ask your friend to bring down some mince pies?" And I'd be thinking, "What is that all about? What is that all about? Mince pies, please."
Oh yeah.
But you know what? The other day, emailed my husband. I said, "You know what? Please do not come without mince pies." Don't come without mince pie. But I did bring down the jar. I brought down some jars of mince meat, and they can last for quite a long time unless you open them.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a go at making some pastry, but I don't want it to be an entirely English. It's not. I mean, I'm trying to see what is. I want to blend the new with the old, so it's going to be interesting to find out. I'm talking to people about kind of Jamaican Christmas traditions. As well. I don't want to have a London Christmas here in Jamaica. I'm going to try and blend the two, So
absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I hope you have a fantastic one with all the family. Lots of treats and food and drinks, etc.
You too. And I'm probably going to be on the before you come back. I'm going to be saying, "Michelle, please bring me down. Please bring me down." Yes. No, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas with your family there as well. I really do. And I hope you recover from your flu very soon.
Oh gosh, same here.
Yeah.
Got to dose up.
Yeah.
But,
At least it's not chickpea.
I think that's. Oh goodness, that's what somebody else said.
At least it's not.
From what I've heard, oh gosh, I'm grateful for from what I've heard about this chicken V. And I'm looking forward to touching down on Kingston Airport. Yeah, seeing those palm trees and that vibe.
No, Manly Airport. Yes. The smell as you get off the plane, the smell as you come out through the concourse. That smell. that smell, I smelt it all over the Caribbean. Sometimes it smells slightly different, but when you smell that smell, when you feel that feeling, it's been wrapped in cotton wool,
Yeah,
and there's that smell,
I know.
and you just think, yeah, I'm home. I'm home.
Exactly. And the heat that just, that big puff of
Yeah,
heat as soon as you get off the plane and
yeah.
come out the
It's like
airport.
the heat and the smell, and you just
Mm,
think, I am home.
I know. It's beautiful.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's just that thought. I am home.
Mm,
That knowledge. I come back to London and I'm like, I'm home now. Okay,
mm.
but it's never the same as whenever I'm out in the Caribbean and I get off that plane and I feel, yes, I
Yeah,
am home.
exactly. And I don't know, it goes right through me, right through my heart, right through my soul. I just feel, yes, I feel alive. Yeah. Well, let's speak in the new year. Let's definitely touch base again and sort of weigh into your position once the new year's begun, and we'll catch up again and see how you're getting on.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And as I said, you have a wonderful holiday, but and a really safe journey back to Jamaica when you come back.
Oh, I love it. You're amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you out here as well when you come.
Yes, absolutely. And you're only around the corner, so we have to do that.
Yeah, we have to. We have to. Yes, yes.
We will. We will.
You take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Home and Away show. We'll be back soon with more from the series. If you would like to comment, suggest a topic, or be a guest on the show, send an email to radio@michelledmore.com.
Oh la 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 la. Bam bam. Oh la 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 la. Bam bam. Oh la 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 la. Bam bam. Oh la 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 la. Big it up. Oh la 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 la. Dig it up. Oh la 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 la. Bam bam. Bam 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 bam. Bam bam bam. Bam bam bam. Bam 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 bam. Bam bam bam. Bam 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 bam. Bam bam.